Hello students, welcome to week 3 for COM525 Media Effects on Communication Behavior. This week we're going to look at agenda setting and some framing theories and the influence they have on one another and result in media effects. Um, excuse me. There you go. There we go. So here is our week 3 agenda. As you go through the week 3 agenda, take a look at, we are reading chapters 1 and 2 in the media effects text. So we're finally getting to some of the beginning things within the chapter and that within the text, and that was done on purpose. We're at finally a good point where we can kind of start to look at framing and the civic calling of news to understand how there are specific implications of that within media effects and communication and such. We have a couple videos to watch. One is on media representation and ideology, so we'll be reviewing some things about ideology, and then we will also look at in our TED Talk how the news can distort our worldview in hopes of further kind of enhancing what news framing theory is and agenda setting theory is as well. And then you have a video on agenda setting. We have a discussion board due on Thursday. That's your original post, and your replies are due on Sunday. And your critical assignment topic is due, so we'll spend some time exploring that this week. In our discussion board, you will be downloading the article by Andrews and Neil, and you'll be looking at really what the article is titled is Making the News Movement, Organizations, Media Attention, and the Public Agenda. And you're looking at how those all play a role in media effects. What you'll be doing is reading the article. There's a link within the discussion board too to download it, open it up, read it. It's about 15, 20 pages or so. Take a look at what that has to say, and then you'll construct a reflective post of at least 500 words. Note that this doesn't ask for you to upload it as an attachment or anything like that, so it does not require formal APA in terms of a cover page and abstract and such. Rather, it just requires you to utilize references. So you're going to read the article in its entirety. Then you're also going to answer the questions that are listed in italics down at the bottom of this screen that's listed on Blackboard as well. You're going to identify why news media is so pivotal in social movements. Why is it difficult for social movements to receive regular news coverage? What does the author find that leads to more news coverage? Write this in more of a narrative paragraph style instead of answering just specific questions. It needs to flow and have reason and cohesion between one another, but use these questions to guide your reflective response. And don't forget, you do need to reply to at least 3 other students with 250 word responses for each student by Sunday. Your critical assignment. Your critical assignment relies on you constructing and writing a research proposal for media effects. So this paper will look at a mass media theory that includes all the elements of a research proposal to determine a media effects and or influence on a particular thing. So you'll have your introduction, your purpose statement, literature review, proposed methodology, things, all of that good stuff. This week what you're doing is just identifying a topic. You're going to state and explain your topic and provide a brief rationale that explains why you want to pursue this area of research. The entire submission should be about 200 to 300 words. I just want to clearly see that you said, this is my topic, this is what I want to study, and this is why, and have some thorough explanation in there. So when I mean thorough explanation, I mean you should have some references tied to it, even if it's just the course text that tells you a particular thing about a given topic. Here are some things to know about research proposals in general. And this is just to give you some background in looking at research proposals, because that's where you will eventually end up with our critical assignment. It will be a research proposal, but we're going to start chunking some parts of it here and out for the coming weeks. So as you construct your ideas, because remember you're just submitting a topic this week, I want you to have a good foundation of what I expect in a research proposal. So begin with considering, what do you want to study? What do you feel is an important topic when it comes to media effects and the influence media has, because that's really what we're looking at. Media influence. Media effects is the result of influence of media. And how you think that may be beneficial to you. Look at how significant is a subject area covered within the class. What's the problem? A good point in media effects is to look at the media theories we're covering. Look and see how maybe agenda setting is used. Propose a study that we could use news framing, or we could use social learning theory or cognitive theory, or whatever it may be. It's important to be very concise, use precise and grammatically correct writing as well. The research proposal. So this is the outline that we'll be using, and this is in Blackboard for you to see. You will have a clear introduction, a clear background section, a clear literature review section, as well as a research design and methods section that proposes what research you would use, as well as a preliminary suppositions and implications section. That means what you think the results of your data could possibly be and what that might mean towards theoretical frameworks and such, as well as a conclusion. So you're going to give me everything you would have in a paper that you're conducting research on except the research. We're not actually conducting research. We're getting there. We're proposing what we would want to conduct. And really what this is designed, all these research proposals you're doing in various classes at this level, is designed to give you a breadth of knowledge and a breadth of ideas to go into your capstone project later on at the end of your master's program. Let's briefly review ideology. We covered this in week 1 and we loosely talked about it when we went over hegemony last week. So let's remember that ideology really is just a system of meaning that helps us define and explain the world by making value judgments about the world. So ideology is how we view about a particular thing, view a particular topic. It's how we make value judgments. It's also how we define and explain said value judgments. So really, in media effects, ideology determines realistic reflections on society. It's concerned with messages, with what messages are and what these images send about the nature of the world and how the world operates and how it should be. So ideology looks at what media messages are, what they're sending to one another, what that means about the nature of the world, how the world operates, and how the world should be. Scholars particularly examine media images to uncover their ideologies by looking at recurring themes and images within media. So we may look at a series of a show over time to uncover what the ideology of that show is and what it may be trying to project on society. Remember, one important thing to kind of note at this point when we look at ideology is the idea of culture wars. That was developed by Hunter and Wolf. And what they found is that mediated images with differing or competing ideologies often create a war on culture within society or within media in general. So we have one show that projects a family to be this, we have another show that projects a family to be that, and ensues a culture war of differing ideologies that compete with one another, and the society is left to determine what they view family to be, or what they construct family to be, or not sure of what family is looking at those particular media images, which is very, very important. The next thing we're going to look at is agenda setting theory. McCombs and Shaw developed this theory in the late 60s, early 70s. It was really developed after they noted specific influence from news media on the residents in North Carolina during the presidential election. So what they found is that particular residences in North Carolina, or residents, found that they thought they held particular opinions about particular candidates in that election based off of what they found in the news. And they have particular quotes from residents and citizens in this area saying that. They were saying that we believe that, and I apologize, there's a typo on residents in the PowerPoint, but more importantly, what they found is that people held particular opinions on this particular candidate, and when they asked them, where did you get that idea? They said, oh, from the news. Oh, from when I watched this, or from when I read this in the paper, or from when I heard this radio broadcast. And so what they found that there was noted significance and a correlation effect in their data that determined that this is true. Media can set public agenda and discourse by not telling us what to think, but by telling you what to think about. And that can be kind of a profound statement in and of itself. And so I'll put it this way. What it is that a news report will remain objective and biased as much as they can, and will not say you need to think this about this particular person. Rather, they'll present a news broadcast or a segment of a show that talks about that person in a certain way. So they're not telling you how to think about that person, but rather they're telling you what to think about. They get you thinking about that person in another perspective. Or rather, they are presenting things that are they feel are current events or things that are happening within society by not telling you what to think about them, but to get you talking about them. So then you're gathering around the coffee pot at work and somebody's like, hey, did you see 2020 last night? I did. That was so profound. Or da 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 da. Or hey, did you see the debate? Oh my gosh, I did. Did you hear the commentary on that? So they're not telling you what to think. They're not projecting their agenda on, they're not telling you to believe in their agenda. Rather, they're projecting their agenda on you to get you to think about it. It's one of the most prominent news media or media effects theories out there. It's about setting the agenda. So we won't tell you what to think, but we're going to set the agenda by showing primary news coverage on this particular topic over and over and over and over and over and over again. So that gets you talking about it, and then by in turn by thinking about it. And if they're lucky, if you're looking at some theories like elaboration likelihood theory and things like that, you may just passively accept it and believe what they want you to believe. It's only applicable primarily to news media. There's some new research in the last 10, 15 years or so where it's trying to be applied to social media, but there hasn't been enough out there for it to get some good effects or some reliability and validity within the data. So we are currently, from a scholarly perspective, exploring it within social media, but right now it's particularly been proven within news media outlets. News framing theory is Kahneman and Iyengar. It's closely related to agenda setting, but it just takes it a step further. And what news framing theory tells us is that news media suggests how audience can interpret an issue or an event, and that news tends to frame and exert relatively substantial influence on citizens' beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. And what this means is that they're significantly related, the behaviors and attitudes, to the process of news consumption and processing. So news framing theory looks at how we frame and how we present information and how and that news media can suggest how audience will interpret an issue or an event. So agenda setting tells us that we're not going to tell you what to think, but we're going to get you to talk about and to start thinking about what we want you to think about by presenting these topics. News framing theory tells us that news media can suggest how audiences interpret an issue or event. This gets into the social commentary perspective of cable news. So presenting the news is just simply stating what a journalist found out to be an objective, non-biased report on a particular topic. There was an accident today on the 91 freeway, or whatever it may be. Social commentary, which is highly projected on cable news outlets, tends to tell us or tends to give us more of a suggestion on how we should interpret issues or events. If you look at Nancy Grace, she gives us her opinion all the time about how she feels about courtroom litigation and things of that nature, particularly with children. That particular show is suggesting how audience should interpret an issue or an event. And so it's really important to look at that. That's news framing. It's framing how we should interpret something versus agenda setting doesn't tell us what to think, but rather sets the agenda so we start thinking about what they want us to think, which is very significant. So those are two primary theories that are discussed within the text this week. They're really, really phenomenal and great topics for you to consider for your critical assignment. If you have any questions with the critical assignment or discussion board post, please contact me early in the week. Here's a recap of what we're doing in case you forgot. Reading chapter 1 and 2. We're watching the videos listed there, and we're working on our second discussion board as well as our topic for our critical assignment. If you have any particular questions or concerns just in general, let me know. If you need to reach out for prayer or anything like that, I know a number of you have been coming to me with some personal things, and I really appreciate that, so we can get a chance to get to know each other and interact on a deeper level online. I'd love to do that. Just feel free to reach out. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I pray you have a blessed week. God bless.